So
but,
people
but
really
somehow
need to be paying
people
attention
don't,
to this. And
they don't have any priority. And we are now set up to where it will absolutely crush us. Do you want to go over what this is?
hey, what's up, Adam? Hey, Fugel fam, good to be here. I haven't talked to you guys in a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a few weeks now.
Well, you've been busy. So,
Yeah.
so what is happening right now? Obviously, you see there's a lot of seismic activity. What do you believe is happening with the sun?
Well, there's a lot of things that are actually going on. I mean, we've got the seismic activity, and something else that I think people kind of sometimes overlook is the fact that a couple of years ago we had some hurricanes in the Gulf, and we got hit with some solar flares right where those hurricanes were at, and it almost immediately intensified them. And it's actually pretty well documented now. So we know that the sun and space weather most definitely affects all of us, and almost immediately. Yeah, it's a big deal. But the earthquake stuff, that also, believe it or not, the hurricane thing comes into play there too. I'm not sure if you've ever talked about that or not, but sometimes the hurricanes will go over certain areas, and it actually you have a better chance of getting earthquakes in those areas. And that's actually these past about the past week, we've seen that. That first chapter there, you'll see numbers on there that says 1, 2, 3. And what those are, this happened back on the 18th. Those 3 sections of the sun erupted at the exact same time. Okay, and this is in the southern hemisphere.
Wow.
And all 3 of them went right at the same time. And I've been talking about this, I don't know, for a while. I didn't know if there was any science behind it or not. And there actually is. There was if you want to go to that next chapter, Adam, I'll talk, it just kind of ties into it. Back in, I believe it was 2010, August 1st, we had an event very similar to that, but there were 12 eruptions at the same time. Well, the sun actually has a magnetic field that has faults. And what happens is these things, they call them separatrix or something like that. It's a kind of a weird thing there. But if it's connected the right way, that magnetic line will actually get moved, and it can trigger this big, huge, this chain reaction like dominoes of solar flares and CMEs and filaments. Because the one back in 2010, all of that happened at once, and all 3 of those things I just said, filament, solar flare, and a CME multiple fired off the sun almost like immediately. There was almost like no space between each eruption. And really, you can only tie that back to magnetics. That's about the only thing that moves that fast. But you can clearly see it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the fact that the sun is extremely, extremely active. The last time that I think I spoke to you guys, we were talking about G3 level storms, and we had a bunch of them all at once. If you guys can kind of remember back to there, but it definitely the sun is still active. If you so it would actually be off to the right. I'm not sure if you can scoot that image over or not.
That's okay.
You could see it better.
I was trying to find where the bar was to control it here. Okay, hold on. So you said 41 seconds?
About 41 seconds, yeah. That would be the perfect spot to show.
Okay, here we go.
But go ahead. Yeah, go for it. And you can just let it play, and I can talk while it's playing. It's not a big deal. I just want people to see it because these happen like boom, 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 boom. And I slowed it down right there because that was the X flare. That most definitely would have been an X flare if it was facing us. Now, I bring that up too because you see the big CME there that popped off there with it. So if that was facing us, which it was facing us a couple days before that, and we've been seeing that a whole lot this sun cycle. There's a phenomenon called Earth facing quiet, and it basically just talks about how things, when they get in front of us, they quiet down. They don't start. There's something there scientifically, and they haven't really pinpointed it yet. But it's definitely a phenomenon that we're seeing over and over and over and over again. And so, yeah, but there are still things happening with us now. we're actually predicted to go into a geomagnetic storm here on the 23rd. It's going to be low level. It shouldn't be much of anything, but, things change. And, last time we were talking about things not being much of anything, we had 4 satellites fly out of the sky. So you've talked about it probably longer than I have with all the magnetic, shifting and the poles and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's definitely, and if you could go to that number 4, that's actually a video too, if you want to play that. That is a picture or a video from LASCO C2, and it's the SOHO Observatory, and it's the satellite that's about 1 million miles closer to the sun, and it's always looking at the sun, and it orbits with us around the sun. So basically, it sits right out in front of us 1 million miles closer to the sun. It's from our perspective. And what I did there is, if you watch the dates, you can see it progress. It will. This is like a 4 or 5 day just continuous stream, and you're going to see multiple eruptions. So people really need to be paying attention to this, and
they don't have any priority. And we are now set up to where it will absolutely crush us. Do you want to go over what this is?
Yeah, I'll go over it real briefly, man. That way you can get back to your show. I know I get it. Yeah, that's a coronal hole, guys. That was actually facing us. It's actually it's a really sizable one, and this is the culprit that's supposed to be giving us a geomagnetic storm here on the 23rd. It is, when what you're looking at, that's an image from SDO, and I show this all the time. And I'm sorry if there's people here that are new, and I sometimes I forget to explain this well enough. It's a satellite. It sits out in front of the Earth, much like the satellite I showed you guys before here earlier in the show, and it's always looking at the sun. But it's in geosynchronistic orbit, which means it stays over the same spot of Earth. It rotates around our axis over the same place. If you were to look down, you would see the Pacific Ocean all the time if you were standing on that satellite. But it always keeps its eye affixed at the sun. So, it kind of rotates like that, kind of like Lord of the Rings, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that's what the image is here. And it's extreme ultraviolet, and they put a filter on it, and that's a 211 angstrom, the purple view there. And that's a spectrum of light, and it allows us to see different gases. And it's so important because we see so many different features. If you were to look at the 304, you would see like these dark shadows, and those are filaments. You can barely see filaments on this one. So that's why we do what we do with those filters. But the corona has actually opened up there. What you're looking at is the surface of the sun, and they're trying to figure out why the corona is so much hotter, right? And they did come back with some pretty good data on that. You can clearly see the direct correlation to the intensification of hurricanes when these things hit. And it's to the point now where it's so obvious, at least to me, that it's almost like laughable that people can't, or like fighting against that at some level. I don't get it. It's great that you guys did that webpage, because that's something I think all of us have thought about, but you guys actually stepped up and did it. So thank you. I mean, it's awesome.
Well, no problem.